What would you do if you started out on the adventure of your lifetime and then fell in love with the very place that was supposed to be just the start? Would you stay or press on, leaving that place behind, knowing full well that tomorrow is never guaranteed? And also that the journey you're embarking on is full of risk. Well, here we find ourselves after 2 incredible years in Alaska, about to say goodbye. But the end goal awaits, the southernmost tip of Argentina and the countless miles of North and South America in between. And so we go. And in this next step of the journey, we take you on a different route out of Alaska. A place so wild and remote, it is only open for a few months of the year. We're cutting it close, risking a closed border if we don't get there in time. But every stop is worth that risk, because this region is rich in everything there is to love about this part of the world. Tiny towns with peculiar traditions and character all their own. Intense natural beauty that we just happen to catch at the right moment. And hints of a story tied to this land. Something happened here, something big, and evidence begins to reveal itself along the route. Jump on in as we take on the next leg of the journey, beginning in Fairbanks, Alaska, second largest city of the last frontier. Our goal is to drive the Richardson Highway and then the famous Alaska Highway until here, where we'll break away and take you on one of the most stunning roads of the North. The first stop is much needed. After a breakdown left us stranded in the city for a week, we're eager to be back in nature. And Alaska is a place where that is as easy as pulling off the side of the road to spots like this.
This place is beautiful. Feels so great to be back on the road. And I think we should celebrate by making a campfire and maybe even watching a movie out here. All right, let's go get some wood. What a beautiful night. It'll be nice if we get to see the northern lights.
Our names are Cora and Jose, 2 artists with a goal to travel Alaska to Argentina with a purpose. To celebrate the Americas through the lens of our art, connecting with communities along the way.
Sure, but I actually do see you showing up for your friends in an unexpected way.
Huh. You hear that?
We are on the Richardson Highway, which has its own role to play in the story of this region. Stretching 366 miles from Fairbanks to Valdez, this road was nothing more than a trail through the wilderness until the Fairbanks Gold Rush turned the path into a well-beaten wagon road. Now, a different kind of gold closely follows the Richardson. The Trans-Alaska Pipeline is never far from the highway, carrying crude from the Arctic oil fields of Prudhoe Bay to tankers in the port of Valdez. After traveling alongside the pipeline for hundreds and hundreds of miles, it feels strange knowing that this is the last time we will see it. It's the last time because a few short miles down the road, the Richardson Highway and the pipeline will chart a course south, and we will reunite with a highway that we have not seen in 2 long years.
So almost exactly 2 years ago, we drove up the Alaska-Canada Highway, also known as the Alcan, and the only section that we didn't do was from Tok to Delta Junction, Alaska. Why did we not do that? Because we were trying to get to Seward, Alaska as fast as we could with winter on our heels. But now we can actually do that last little stretch from here in Delta Junction to Tok. We're doing that today, so we are about to earn our certificate, which we are about to go get, saying that we officially completed the Alcan.
The Alaska-Canada Highway, or Alcan, was built in 1942 in response to the Second World War. The United States desperately needed an overland route connecting the lower states to the territory of Alaska. So Canada agreed to the construction of a 1,422-mile road from Dawson Creek, British Columbia to Delta Junction, Alaska. The effort took an extraordinary amount of manpower as crews worked non-stop to punch a trail through unforgiving terrain in just 8 short months. The equipment from that mammoth project can still be found along the route, preserved and put on display by locals proud of this history.
Is it that way?
Yes.
Okay. Like that.
Yeah, you got it.
I don't ever want to do it wrong.
This is a big moment. 2 years in the making. Thank you.
Yes. There we go.
Ta-da!
The Alaska Highway is popular among travelers, especially folks like us that live a life both on the road and online. This rig pulled in exactly the same time we did, and of course, we're intrigued. Jonathan and Kelly spent 9 years traveling all over the world with their kids, and they just crossed into Alaska to settle in and start a whole new set of adventures here.
But yeah, so we started in India. So we went from Anchorage to Chennai, India, which was like total culture shock. Alaska to hardcore India was definitely different. And when we were there in India in 2015.
These random crossing of paths is one of the best parts of life on the road. As our road trip days, like this one. This is the 100-mile section of the Alaska Highway that we missed 2 years ago, and it's a beautiful day for a drive. The Alaska Range rises ahead. This impressive mountain range curves like a graceful scar across the face of the last frontier. So many of our Alaskan adventures centered on these mountains. We have hiked into them, flown over them, and driven through them. Now we skirt along their northern flank, the last time we will see them on this journey of ours. We are fast approaching the town of Tok, and grateful we are because we are still experiencing a little bit of overheating, and we think we might know what the culprit is. We just drove this bus to the Arctic Ocean and back on one of the dustiest, muddiest roads she's ever been down. She was just in the shop in Fairbanks, but we just realized that they didn't rinse out the radiator. Here's to hoping this does the trick. We're hoping that did the trick, because not 12 miles down the road, this is where we once again bid farewell to the Alaska Highway and also say goodbye to any mechanic for 185 miles. The Alaska Highway is the most established road in and out of Alaska, and it's open year-round. But there is one other way, a different route that is only open for a window of time, and we are fast approaching the end of it. That's why we cruise through these first 65 miles to arrive in one of the most curious, whimsical, and endearing settlements we've experienced in all of the last frontier, and where the next stage of this story begins. Chicken, Alaska. Whimsical, quirky, and absolutely laden with good humor. We like this place. So much that we decide to stick around for a couple extra days, even if that means cutting our border crossing really close. But chicken's kinda worth it. Population 12 in the winter, with a few more in the tourist season, the road to Chicken is only maintained in the summer. That means come winter, those who stay are left to fend for themselves, and they like it that way. There's no cell service, no public toilet save for the famous chicken outhouse. And every June, a music festival is put on here, and it's called, you guessed it, Chicken Stock. Here in Chicken, there is also evidence of something big that happened in this part of the world. So monumental was this event that its history lingers, not only in the heavy equipment scattered along riversides and creek beds, but also in the towns like Chicken that owe their existence to that page of history. This is a dredge. A very productive and very expensive machine, only worth bringing to a place if there is a lot of gold to be found there. We are edging into a part of the world where one of the most, if not the most famous gold rushes of all time took place. Some accounts say the gold nuggets that came out of this creek here were the size of corn kernels in chicken feed, hence the town name. But there's another version of events out there as well.
So here, the name of the town came about from the ptarmigans, but the people at the time, the gold miners or the prospectors that came around here, they could have spelled ptarmigan, so it was just easier to call it Chicken.
So the name of the sculpture is Eggy, and it was made by high school students from recycled lockers. That's a pretty awesome use of school lockers. You did a good job.
They did an amazing job. And I really like how the weather is bringing the rust color into it, adding more to to the texture of the sculpture.
Indeed, that is the story. In its gold rush heyday, enough miners flocked here to warrant incorporating the settlement in 1902. The area was particularly abundant in ptarmigan, and if you've ever seen a ptarmigan, you'd agree that they bear a striking resemblance to chickens. What do you do when you want to name your town Ptarmigan but can't agree on the spelling? You go for the next best thing, chicken. We've been enjoying this little community, soaking up its funky vibes and the company of good people. We stay long enough to feel a bit of the rhythm of this place. Travelers come and go, and the Chicken Creek Cafe fills their tummies with wholesome food before they continue on their adventures.
So Chicken is a pretty cool little place. There's a lot of character here. The people are really, really nice. And it's a good place to stop to fuel up and fuel up your tummy if you're hungry out here in the big wide wilderness.
This hot dog looks so good. I usually order burgers, but for some reason today I was craving a hot dog. And I'm glad that I ordered it here because it looks really good.
And I am having chicken noodle soup, which is a great, nice, warm meal to have on a crisp autumn day like this.
No, Dawson is. I don't think you've seen him. I've seen him. How you had him taken to.
This is a really good hot
Was
dog.
abandoned.
So the Chicken Creek Cafe is well known for its pastries every morning. But of course, to enjoy those pastries, you have to be an early bird, and we are night owls, so we missed their big morning spread of all their pastries across the counter. But lucky for us, there were a couple stragglers left over that these two night owls get to enjoy a little later in the day. Oh my gosh, so good.
Without really meaning to, we stuck around in Chicken just long enough for the fall colors to flourish all around us. We are in an ecoregion known as the Alaska-Yukon lowland taiga. Here, spruce forests share space with aspen and poplar, willow and alder. Low-lying bogs are dominated by dwarf birch, willow, Labrador tea, and tall grass-like sedges. In all, it makes for a spectacular mosaic of color. Now, the clock is ticking. The border, and therefore access to the road we want to take you on, closes in just a few days. If we have any engine issues on the way there, we'll be in trouble. So it's time to gas up and get going. There is one piece of our lives that will not be gassing up with us, however.
Well, the time has come to say goodbye to our mighty Sancho. This car has made a lot of adventures possible, but we are about to cross into Canada, and it's time to give this car to another family, and hopefully they'll get some more years out of it. So, time to say goodbye.
Now it's just us and the bus and one heck of a road. Since leaving the Alaska Highway, we have been on the Taylor Highway, and we have 28 miles to go until we tee off with the road that we've been waiting for, the Top of the World Highway. It's named the Top of the World for a reason. And so now we begin a long, slow climb. First through meandering river valleys cut into the mountainscape, and then soon, in no time, we'll be looking down into the valleys as we climb up to the top of the world. The sights have been beautiful so far, but here is where it really starts getting good.
I've been acting like a wild man, sleeping like a child. You're so luminous and vibrant. I'm always in bloom for you. Always in bloom. Always in bloom for you.
This region epitomizes so much of what there is to love about Alaska. Big, open, and truly wild.
So many times I've stranded, a castaway on unknown shore, although a stranger in this continent. I'm always in bloom for you. Always in bloom. Always in bloom for you.
Rivers work tirelessly on the land. Unlike glaciers that leave wide U-shaped valleys, rivers cut decisively downward, creating distinctive V-shaped valleys with steep sloping walls.
I'm always in bloom. Always in bloom for you. For I'm always in bloom, always in bloom for you.
As we climb up the final hill, the sun begins to set, and we realize this will be our last night in Alaska. It almost doesn't feel real, and we're fairly certain that many people in our world, you included, doubted whether we would ever really leave. Our love for Alaska came through loud and clear in the adventures that we shared over the last 2 years. We arrived not quite knowing what to expect, in a frantic push to reach the coast and park the bus before winter hit. Then winter hit, and the rest is history. It's hard to express the raw beauty, power, and vastness that is the last frontier. It pales in comparison to any place we have ever been to before. And between the two of us, we have seen quite a few places in this world. There's a deep pang of sadness knowing that we're leaving, but even deeper than that, gratitude for the memories, for the friendships, for the opportunity to explore this land through the lens of our art and to have shared it with you in season 1. And so you can imagine how we feel when on our last night in Alaska, the night seems to bid us farewell with this breathtaking show. The next morning, we filmed the last piece of a music video a long time in the making. A song about Alaska, filmed while looking out across the last wild stretch of last frontier before we cross into Canada. And now, it's time to go.
All right, here we go to our next adventure. All right, Bobby, let's go.
We just said goodbye to the tailor, and we are now on the top of the World Highway. The top of the World Highway stretches from here to Dawson City, Yukon, 80 miles away. Originally a pack trail, it twists and winds its way along the crest of the mountains. In this direction, the first 14 miles are in Alaska, and then we reach the northernmost border crossing in North America. And just like that, we are in the Yukon Territory of Canada. With an area of 186,000 square miles and a population of just 46,000 people, the Yukon is a wild place of mostly untouched wilderness. The top of the World Highway cuts through a little slice of that wilderness, and we are about to begin the steady climb up to the highest point of the drive, to views that will take our breath away. This is gold country. The gold rushes of Alaska pale in comparison to what happened in the Yukon at the turn of the century. We are driving headlong towards the epicenter of that chapter, and we will dive deep into the story of the Klondike Gold Rush in the next episode. We do our best to capture how wild and expansive this region is, but there is one thing that we simply cannot convey through film.
So we're doing our best to try and communicate how vibrant the colors are right now, but the one thing that we can't communicate with footage is the smell. And when you get really low down to these low-lying shrubs and plants, they're just giving off this aroma, almost like potpourri. This plant in particular, it's almost like rosemary and rose mixed together.
It's no wonder it strikes me as kin to rosemary. Unless I'm very much mistaken, this is Rhododendron tomentosum, or Northern Labrador tea. It's also called marsh tea, trapper's tea, or wild rosemary. It has long been used medicinally by indigenous peoples of northern Canada and Alaska. In contrast to the forested valleys below, alpine tundra prevails up here. Hardy, ground-hugging shrubs, dwarf willows, and lichens blanket the ground. The trees that do take root here are sparse and spread out. it is clear that the low-lying tundra plants have an advantage on the wind-blown mountaintops. The smell is entrancing, and it seems the land is in its last hurrah before the snow flies. In less than a week, the border will close, and this road won't be maintained until the spring. Folks can still drive it at their own risk, but the link between Canada and the US will be cut off until crews clear the road in May. The road rises and falls. When it falls, we dip back down into the realm of the taiga, that resilient forest of the Northern Hemisphere. Sometimes it feels like we are just skimming along inside the cusp between the two, and then we rise up once more into the treeless alpine tundra. It must be surreal to come up here by snow machine when this land is transformed into a windswept world of snow and ice. The silence must be immense.
We are eating leftovers at the Top of the World restaurant.
5-star.
The food is not fresh, but the views are awesome.
If this day is any indication, we have a feeling the Canadian page of our journey may be just as beautiful and adventure-filled as the Alaskan one. We continue on following this incredible ribbon of road across the mountaintops, surrounded by the brilliant colors of autumn. We inch ever so closer to our final destination until suddenly we come upon a little hint of what lies ahead. We are now just minutes from Dawson City, Yukon, a place of such reputation and renown you have probably heard of it, if not in film, then in books, poems, or songs. It sits tucked along a mighty river that we have visited before and told you that we would see again. So grand is this river, it gave the Yukon Territory its name, and is just about to reveal itself over the mountains ahead. The Yukon River is a force of the natural world, and an important player in the tales to come. Along its banks sit towns, treasures, and even ruins. What history, stories, and adventures wait to be explored in Dawson City? Well, to find out, you'll just have to wait until next time on Aren't We There Yet?